I feel like with so many new people playing Valorant, it will be a good time to kind of discuss as to why you're actually losing gunfights in your games. While it is true that there is much more to the game than just gunplay and gun skill, it would be a huge lie to you to tell you that it doesn't affect your rank at the end of the day. So today we're going to be going over 5 reasons as to why you're losing your gunfights in Valorant. Now before we begin, make sure to hit that sub button because I do upload Valorant videos all the time. They can be either highlights or guides, so make sure to stay tuned for that. Also, I do stream on Twitch almost every single day, so if you want to go ahead and get to know me or maybe ask me a question in person, then you can go ahead and follow the link in the description below. Now with that out of the way, let's get into the video. Starting off with reason number 1, and that is people overcompensating for recoil. We all know that Valorant is a hard game and you have to learn the recoil patterns of almost every single gun in order for you to be effective. That being said, however, I feel like people really overcompensate for recoil thinking it's going to be a lot more than it actually is. For example, sometimes I see people use a Phantom and after the first shot, they'll immediately pull down on the recoil thinking that the gun's going to kick, when in reality, the first 3 to 5 shots in the Phantom have virtually no recoil. If you've ever had that frustrating experience where you light somebody for 140 or 120 if you have a Vandal, and you don't kill them, that's probably because you're doing this. You're missing the first headshot and you're automatically bringing your gun down, you're pulling your mouse down, which brings your bullets down onto their chest and you end up not killing them in the end. Now the reason I bring this up with the Phantom is because I feel like that's the most obvious case where sometimes you'll headshot somebody with the Phantom for 140 and then you immediately pull down when the recoil hasn't really, came in yet. So the bullets are flying over his head and you don't get that second shot to secure the kill. So if you ever headshot somebody for 140 with a Phantom and they just never hit him again and you're just like, how did that guy not die? It's probably because you pulled down your mouse a little bit too fast. Now moving on to reason number 2, it is how you take the angles that you actually fight. So obviously angles are a big part of Valorant, but a lot of people don't know how to use them to their advantage. So a good thing to remember is that the closer you are to the angle, the more you will be exposed when you're peeking. So for example, if you're holding an angle and you're really close to it and then somebody peeks you, they're going to see your shoulder before you even see them. That's why it's a common rule of thumb that whenever you peek an angle, you want to peek it as far from the angle as possible. That way you expose the least amount of body. Holding the angle farther will also allow you to clear the map a little bit easier. Because if you peek while holding the angle close, you're going to have to wide swing and that means you're going to be exposed to every single angle at the same time. Now don't get me wrong, peeking an angle close can actually have some benefit, but you really have to know how to use it, and we can go over that in a different video. Now moving on to reason number 3, and it is that you are shooting too fast after you counter strafe. Now we all know what counter strafing is. It is a tip that we all have to learn. You stop moving to shoot straight, but there is a weird timing with it that I feel a lot of people don't understand. So whenever you counter strafe and you stop moving, your gun takes a fraction of a second to be able to shoot straight. And that is a common rule of thumb, and most people will find that out on their own. But I notice a lot of people tend to shoot too early while they're trying to counter strafe, and that can cause the bullets to be everywhere and not straight. So what I mean by this is that sometimes they're either shooting before the counter strafe is finished, or they're shooting right at the start of the counter strafe, and it can cause your bullets to kind of spread out. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that you're firmly, stood on the ground before you actually start shooting during your counter strafe. Now another thing I do notice is that people tend to panic in gunfights, so they try to shoot as fast as possible even though their counter strafe might not be completely done. So try not to do that. Remember that you have to line up their heads as well as theirs, so they have to line up the same shot. So it's better for you to just take your time and try to aim for the head, try to have complete control over your cursor before you actually try and shoot. If you are somebody who peeks angles and are aiming at the head, but for some reason you always hit the body whenever you counter strafe, it's because you might be shooting too early or a little bit too late. If you are somebody who shoots too early during the counter strafe, then by the time your crosshair gets to their head, your bullets are going to be going right over him. So if you feel like you peek people and your bullets go right over their heads every time you peek them, then it is because you are shooting too early, and by the time you're stabilizing and standing still, the recoil is already in effect. And moving on to the 4th tip is you are holding shift way too much. Now I get it, shift is a very important key in the game because it allows you to walk around the map without giving away information to the enemies, but if you're holding down shift way too much, you're going to be a much easier target to hit whenever you peek any angle. Whenever you're trying to be urgent and whenever you're trying to peek an angle, it is almost always better to not hold shift. And if you can take a few steps without holding shift and not make any noise, and if you're good at that, you're able to clear angles quietly without having to give any information away. So if you are a shift key warrior, while it does have its benefits, it is a lot better for you to actually learn the movement of the game, because the movement of the game is very important and people tend not to notice that. People focus on map awareness and aim when they should be focusing on the movement of their character, because that's a big part of Valorant in general that people just take for granted. I always thought that what makes a person better than other people, it's not just their aim, because a lot of people can have really good aim, it's the movement itself. If you're able to move across the map, fluidly while having your crosshair in the perfect area, then you're going to be a force to be reckoned with in the long run. So be a little bit more confident in your abilities to peek things, make sure you don't hold shift as much, and just try to peek more aggressively. And last but not least is, of course, crouching. Crouching is one of the worst habits you can have in Valorant, And to be honest, a lot of people don't realize this, but the game gets more and more competitive every single month that passes by. The average skill level of the game is going to go higher. So if you are somebody who is stuck crouching and you just can't let go of that habit, you're going to be left behind fast. So you have to make sure that you stop crouching. If you have to unbind the key, okay? Just get rid of that habit, because you're going to have to learn how to counter strafe. You're going to have to learn how to dodge shots. And if you're crouching, you're going to commit to every fight, and people just automatically know how to do that now. People know how to counter people that crouch 99.9% of the time, because it's not a hard shot to hit. When the game was early on, maybe you could have gotten away with it a lot more, right? Because people are still getting used to the mechanics of the game. But now, if I see somebody crouch in front of me, I know it's an instant kill, because that is one of the easiest shots for me to hit. Because so many people do it, I have so much training with it. So you have to learn to not crouch. You have to learn to take complete control over the movement of your character, and learn to counter strafe and dodge side to side. In a meta where people can actually run and gun with a phantom pretty effectively too at medium to close range, crouching is still super outdated, and you want to just try your best to get rid of that ugly ass habit. But anyways, guys, these are my 5 tips to improving at your gunfights, and I hope you can win a lot more with this information. Make sure to drop a follow if you haven't already. I do upload Valorant all the time. Also, like I said before, I do stream almost every single day. So if you want to go ahead and check that out, maybe get to know me, you can go ahead and follow the link in the description below. Anyway, thank you all so much for being here. Let me know if you all want any more guides, or if there is anything else you want me to cover, and I will get to it. Hope you all have a great day.